Today we're going to be talking about two different mouse pads. We're going to be talking about the Kurosun Samurai as well as the Glsswrks Akari. Many of you may know, as you've been watching and following the channel, that whenever I first got back into PC gaming, I was using the Aqua Control Plus for a year or two, maybe more. And because I've enjoyed using hybrid pads that are like that, I've enjoyed using pads like the Vagabond from Infinity Mice and the Last Stand from Tinta X. But whenever I got the chance to talk with the owner of Kurosun, he made a good point. When you see hybrid, it's generally a similar fabric combined with a similar surface, combined with a similar base, really providing a similar experience and performance whenever you're using pads that are like that. And the whole point of the Samurai is to move away from that concept and the idea and the mouse pad that we tend to think of as hybrid, create a more unique experience and be able to provide something that's truly balanced within the speed spectrum. The Samurai comes in at 490 by 420 and it's 3mm thick. As standard for Kurosun, they're using their white edge stitching as they did on the Ninja, and I noticed two improvements from the original pad. Number one, it was obvious where the stitching ended on the Ninja in the top left hand corner as opposed to the Samurai where the overall stitch has been improved. Number two, it wasn't noticeable on the Ninja during gameplay, but if you move your finger along the end of the stitch and the surface of the pad, you can feel the stitch as you move your hand down the side of the Ninja, where you can't feel the same on the Samurai, which provides a more premium experience. And that brings us to the base. Although the Ninja was one of the better base implementations of Alpha Cell last year in my opinion, some still had an issue with heat and humidity causing inconsistencies in the performance of the pad. The newer Samurai is using an updated base that's been imported from Japan that's not Alpha Cell or Poron, but provides a similar firmness with better quality. When it comes to the surface, compared to a hybrid like the Vagabond, you can tell just from looking at the surface, it has a very tight, grainy looking texture that provides that hybrid feel and performance, where again the Samurai moves away from that common feel, instead providing a smooth, non-textured weave to offer a balanced pad. The surface is smooth, doesn't have any texture. The weave of the pad provides a solid amount of control and stopping power during gameplay. One thing I do want to mention is that there is a difference between the X and the Y. The glide along the X axis does feel faster than the Y, which I assume comes from the weave being horizontal. It might be something you might notice in a vertical aim tracking scenario, but it's nothing you'll truly notice in game. The Samurai isn't skate dependent at all, but after testing several different skates, I was really surprised by the plastic skates. They perform the best with a slightly more smooth, controlled glide compared to other skates that I've tested. As Mr. Miyagi once said, better learn balance. Balance is key. Balance good, karate good, everything good. Balance bad, better pack up, go home. The performance of the pad in a similar sense offers a level of balance where everything is good, and you don't have to pack up and go home. Again, providing a very smooth, balanced glide with a good amount of control and stopping power for games like Apex, Call of Duty, and Overwatch. Now before I get into the Akari, I have a question for all of you. Whenever I say the word glass pad, what's the first company that comes to mind? I would assume in most cases, the answer to that question for everyone is going to be Skypad. Simply because Skypad was really the pioneer in the space that brought more glass pads to the market. It pushed other companies to offer their own. Skypad was really the main company that offered the super fast glide of a glass pad, good control, good openness, good quality. Skypad was the company that really pushed glass pads to the market in the first place. And I know some people might say, hey, you know, my favorite is Padsmith, Esports Tiger, Glsswrks, whatever it might be. But that really brings us to a point where we've seen a huge increase of glass pads in the market, and that really brings us to the Akari. Now the Akari comes in at 490 by 420, and it's 3.75mm thick. The pad is made of a high quality heat treated glass that has 6 layers to ensure durability and longevity of use, and it uses a silicone backing to prevent any potential sliding during gameplay. The first glass pad I ever used and tested, you guessed it, was the Skypad 3.0. At the time, the 3.0 was everyone's most recommended glass pad because the speed, openness, and quality of the pad was just unmatched. And after trying it, it felt like a pad that I could have fun with, but it didn't feel like a pad that I could main for competitive games. It was really more of a casual, hey, I want to play Call of Duty and move super fast, but not really something that I felt like I could main until I used something like the Akari. Now, if we're talking about speed, openness, and quality, the Akari wins in every single category. It feels like a more premium product. It offers a significant amount of speed, although slower to the 3.0, but it completely outshines the 3.0 when it comes to the glide because of one very specific thing that has been unbeaten in anything that I've tried, and that is just the sheer smoothness of this pad. The Akari offers an incredibly smooth, more controllable experience that the 3.0 just doesn't have. Compared to the 3.0, most gates I used felt really scratchy against the glass, whereas the Akari is the complete opposite. So, I mean, if I use this, you can hear it. If I switch to the Akari, when I do the same on the Akari, you can hear it's smoother. It doesn't sound as scratchy. It doesn't have that same feeling. And the way that this sounds is the way that it feels. It's not as scratchy. It's incredibly smooth. And it just offers a more smooth, controllable experience that the 3.0 just doesn't have. During heavy tracking scenarios or even playing games like Overwatch or Apex, the smooth, controlled glide that the Akari provides help me perform significantly better than I do on the 3.0. If the 3.0 was originally a 10 for smoothness, it got dropped down to maybe a 6 or a 7 now. When compared to the Akari, the performance of the Akari truly just provides a more smooth, controllable glide that allows for an incredible amount of openness and freedom during gameplay. Now, compared to the Cerapad Kin, the Kin provides it's definitely slower in terms of the glide. It's gonna be more controlled than the Akari, but again, the same thing that makes the Akari better over the Skypad 3.0 is the same thing that makes it better, in my opinion, over the Cerapad Kin. This is going to provide a more controllable, slower experience compared to the Akari. But whenever you put something like core pads on this, you can hear that it's less scratchy than it is on the Skypad. But again, compared to the Akari, you just don't get the same amount of openness and freedom in micro adjusting because the Akari just performs better overall due to the overall smoothness of the glide. Compared to the Ken and compared to the 3.0, whether it's in tracking, target switching, micro adjusting, the Akari is just more smooth. Because of the smoothness of the Akari, you feel that in every technique you use, whether it's tracking, target switching, or micro adjusting, you feel that in the Akari. When we talk about both pads, starting with the Samurai had a lot of updates and changes to the overall quality with the stitching and the base. And you can tell in the overall performance of the pad, it performs well. It's a very solid balance pad. And if you're looking for something that's a different type of balance pad, or you're looking to try something that's not a hybrid, I would definitely recommend trying out the Samurai. And if you've tested or tried, or you're a glass pad lover, I am slowly getting there. I'm always going to be a huge fan of cloth. I will probably still remain a cloth main, but the Akari, the Cerapad is close. I love that pad, but the Akari is just the smoothness. I cannot explain how smooth the pad feels and the overall glide. It is truly nothing that I've tested before or tried before, and the smoothness of that pad is just beautiful in the way that it plays and the way that it performs. And I would highly recommend for anyone that wants to try a glass pad. I know it literally sold out within seconds whenever it was released. I know they're going to have the Kazemi coming up with a faster speed version of the Akari, So if you're interested in glass pads, I would highly recommend trying out Glsswrks, because again, just the smoothness of the pad is truly just something that's unbeatable. I haven't tried anything that comes close to that. But with that being said, if you have any comments, questions, feel free to throw them in the comment section down below. And remember, start a riot.